Hi, this is Sean, and this channel is called Wolf Dog Moon. Today we're going to be taking a look at the basic fantasy role-playing game. Now, if you like this kind of content, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on our next video, and comment down below. Let us know what you think, and let's get a discussion going. Okay, let's get into this. So, I picked this up a few years ago. The basic fantasy role-playing game. Now, let's move this over just quickly. Okay, here's the core player's book. This actually is everything you need to play the game. Now, the basic fantasy role-playing game uses a system that goes back to the beginning and the roots of Dungeons and Dragons. So it uses the original white box / red box rule set, but this updates those rules with the modern system for the D20 so it removes some of the older systems used a lot of tables, and so this simplifies that, but also adds in more of the modern mechanics with the D20, where everything is armor classes ascending, everything is cleaned up as far as, there's no THAC0 in here. So this goes back, basically it's a retro type version that goes back to the beginnings of Dungeons and Dragons. So, and this is an excellent value for what you get, and also the quality is excellent. So you get great quality, great value, a very affordable price, and you get all the building blocks and tools and information that you need to start adventuring in the world of fantasy and Dungeons and Dragons type adventures. So this, in a second, I'll take you in and give you a sneak peek. We'll just walk through the manual a little bit just to give you an idea of the contents. But this is one of my favorite to come out probably in the last 10 years, because this takes you back to more of the original feel of the game, and in comparison to, for example, like 5th edition, where fifth edition kind of homogenizes everything in a way that I think this is better in terms of getting back to the roots of the game, where your stats, for example, in this one, if you have a +1, that means that you have, your abilities are in the stats. So if you're a great warrior, it means you have a +1 or a +2 in your stats, and that's what it's in the actual game mechanics, if you understand my meaning, determines how good your character is and what they can do, not some predetermined or pre-described moves that you can do, or a special, like in the 5th edition at 3rd level, all the character classes get these special abilities that are kind of spelled out to them in a way that I think this, you get back to, you imagine, because the game mechanics take that element out in terms of you having to focus on, I'm going to be telling the dungeon master, I'm going to be doing this special move that I acquired at 3rd level. It's actually in the mechanics of the game itself. So if you have +1 or +2 or +3, that means that you can do things because the roll of the dice will work in your favor. So let me take you in and give you a look at this. But first, what I'd like to show just quickly is this original Dungeons and Dragons I got this player's manual here. This came out in the red box edition back in the 80s. And this, whenever I think of Dungeons and Dragons, this is what I think of. This is where I got started playing the game, and this basic fantasy pretty much checks all the boxes off for me for how I felt when I first started playing Dungeons and Dragons all those years ago. And it conjures up the same excitement level where you have to imagine what your character's gonna be, and the game mechanics allow you to fill in all of the specifics of your character and stuff and make your character very unique. Because again, like I explained earlier, the bonuses that you have on your character or don't have, or negative penalties, determines what type of character you are. It's in the actual mechanics, and I'll try to explain that further what I mean. But I just wanted you to get a look at this, because this is what I always think of, and I like that basic fantasy goes back to this time of Dungeons and Dragons. So the other thing is, what's awesome, this was only like, I want to say this is about $5 or something, $5 to $10 on Amazon, or you can get like the PDF for free of this. So it's for someone who just wants to start in playing role-playing games, I don't think you can go wrong starting here. So I'm going to move this to the side for a second. Not only you get this all in one, you only need this book. It includes monsters, it includes everything the dungeon master needs, it includes everything the player characters need. This book gives you everything in one package at an affordable price. It's amazing. It's so awesome. And in addition to that, I'll move this over to make it easier. I also picked up these different adventures that you can get, and they're also very affordable, and they're also amazing. They're so well done. You got the Chaotic Caves here, the basic fantasy RPG adventure series for characters of level 1 to 3. So you get that here with awesome maps. The drawings have that original feel with, you know, different types of artists, different skill levels of artists too. It's much more organic feel in terms of, you got people that are excited about contributing to this, and they get involved, and they do. I'll show you when we go into the players, the actual the basic fantasy role-playing core book that I showed you earlier. I'll show you some more of the artwork, but you can get these modules and adventures, and they're super affordable. I want to say they're between $3 and $5. Now like I said, I purchased these a few years ago, so I'll leave links in the description below, and so that you can check it out for yourself. But these are extremely affordable. They're awesome. They remind me of the original Dungeons and Dragons adventures you could buy. So we got like Monkey Isle, and so for characters level 4 to 6. Then you have these anthologies, which take you through a whole bunch of different adventures. And then you got this basic fantasy field guide of creatures malevolent and benign. So this is a supplement to give you even more monsters and creatures to fight and stuff. And like I said, the original core book that I showed at the beginning contains all the monsters you'll need. And then these are just even more fantastical ones. And then you got campaign settings, and this one's excellent. Morgan's Fort. It's a Western Lands campaign, and so for beginning players. And then I got this one, Tales from the Laughing Dragon, because I had to get this one because a lot of times my brother was the dungeon master, and a lot of times we started out in a bar. That's where the adventure would start, in like the Red Dragon Inn or something of that name. And so this conjured up those nostalgic feels for me. So give me 1 second and I'll take you through the core player's book before we wrap this up. Okay, so here's the core book, and I'll show you the back of what it says. It says this is old school. Modern game systems are heavy, which is true. They overcomplicate everything, and they try to add, especially 5th edition. And I'll show you in this video what I mean to try to clarify. But it says both in terms of the sheer weight of the books, is like they make you buy all these super expensive books, and you feel like if you don't buy every book they come out with, you're going to be missing something. But it's really just kind of heavy monetization instead of giving you value. And it says, and the game master must learn to play them. So here, it even tells you on here, it says don't buy this book. Well, not yet anyway. The basic fantasy roleplay game rules are available for free on our website, www.basicfantasy.org. There you will also find adventures, alternate rules, and other supplementary material to enhance your game. It's man, like I couldn't believe this book when I learned about it. It's that good. It's awesome. And let's see. So I'll take you through a little bit of it. I don't know if this was like a Kickstarter project. That's why these names are in here. But it's got the usual typical beginning of a role-playing book. That it does an introduction, tell you how to play if you've never played role-playing before. But this is sweet. You just need lined yellow notebooks, inexpensive notebook paper, and that's all you need to write down right there. And see where it says strength 16 plus 2? This is a good fighter at level 1. So if he tells the dungeon master, I want to do this awesome move, it's implied in the stats. You say, I'm going to do this awesome twirl or I'm going to do this heavy swing to try to decapitate the Goblin King. Well, the dungeon master is going to be like, okay, roll, and you get +2. You know, so, and it's in the stats. It's no special moves and things that is predetermined, like kind of like a video game. So takes you through the basics of the different character classes and characters you can be. You got halflings. You got, these were based so much on Tolkien. So you got dwarfs, elves, and halflings, which were, hobbits, really. And then it's got the basics of thief and wizard, and it's got the basic classes from that original. Again, let me show you again, just to be clear, of this original Dungeons and Dragons. So, and then let's see, it takes you through all the basics that you need to get started. And I think this would be great for younger players who've never played Dungeons and Dragons, and you don't want to. It's like they got all these added levels of complexity in the 5th edition and some of these other role-playing game systems, where it's like they're trying to use gimmicks. I feel like to sell and make money. But they're relying too heavily on gimmicks, and this removes the gimmicks. It removes all those artificial things where you have to get these other books. You pretty much just can use this book and have tons of adventures and fun. And it goes similar to the original white box and red box, it takes you up to a certain level of, and also it takes you where you can hire mercenaries, and then it goes through the encounters, and then you got your monster manual here. And this is what I mean by the artwork. It's done by different people. Some, they might not be professional artists, but I love that feel of, you get different looks, and all the money for producing this manual is not in this colorful artwork. It's just black and white, kind of like the old school encyclopedias from back in the day, just giving you, and some of these monsters, the way I look at it too is like, maybe this was drawn by an actual adventurer who, they didn't get a great look at the beast, and they already described it to a cartographer or some artisan. I fought this beast out in the wilderness, and I can't tell. Describe it for me, and they drew up this sketch. And so you have to go and seek out and find out for yourself what these beasts look like, and that's what makes it cool. So as an adventurer, so it's got all the monsters. This doesn't hold back on any of the core monsters that the most memorable monsters. I mean, sometimes with the bestiaries or whatever, they get into these other types of crazy monsters and stuff, but the most memorable ones are the ones that are simple in terms of, it's a giant spider. It's something that you can easily remember and talk about. So hold on one second, I'll just show you. I'll try to give you an example of what I mean, what I really like about this basic fantasy compared to, for example, like 5th edition. Hold on one second. All right, okay, here's 5th edition, and I'll see if I can do a close-up, but here's the kind of thing what I like about basic fantasy, this basic fantasy role-playing game, compared to something like 5th edition, which I'm not saying 5th edition is bad, but it holds your hand in a way that the game mechanics should take care of that. Like, for example, it says here, it tells you, see what I'm trying to get at here. Like, for example, skills, it tells you which ones to pick. So, but what if you want to be a fighter that has a little bit of he was an apprentice at first for a wizard? I mean, you could do that with this, but they're kind of leading you down a path here. And then, for example, you get these fighting styles, which sound cool on the surface, but they're not only are they situational, but it kind of holds your hand a little bit. And then when you, for example, when you level up, like for example right here, it says martial archetypes. You can choose these different, so you get the choice of being a champion, a battle master, those kind of things. It's like it's holding your hand a little bit too much. Beginning when you choose this archetype at 3rd level, your weapon attack score a critical hit on a roll of 19 or 20, and remarkable athlete. And you choose these different things, and then over here you have maneuvers you can do. So you'll say, I'm going to use the commander strike, and I'm going to use disarming strike, or what is it, disarming attack, or I'm going to use distracting strike. It's a little bit silly. I'm going to do a riposte, and then you have to explain in the moment what, and the dungeon master might have to look that up every single time. because it's contingent on you knowing exactly the one situational bonus it gives you. Whereas in a game like Basic Fantasy, getting back to this, it's implied in your stat bonuses, what you're able to do and not able to do in the moment. So you don't need to be a champion fighter or beat a battle master or something that's pre-filled out for you like a video game. You can just be Darian the Human Fighter, and you just have a lot of strength with the +2, and your dexterity is +1, so that allows you to do this special move that you want to do. But you make up the move. It's not situational, and it's not contingent on what it says in the manual. It's in the stats. So I don't know if you don't agree, let me know in the comments. Let's have a discussion. But for me, certain things are reflected in the stats of what you can do. You don't need these predetermined things that all this information you have to write on your character sheet and try to have to remember. You know, if you have a +3 to your attack, I mean, that makes you a badass fighter. You're gonna have a really good shot at hitting the monster. So my final thoughts: this Basic Fantasy is amazing, not only for the affordable price, but for how much it harkens back to the original Dungeons and Dragons at a great value. With you get everything you need in this one core book right here. It's very inexpensive, and this has everything the Dungeon Master needs, has everything the players need, and it's at an affordable price with excellent artwork in it that harkens back to the original Dungeons and Dragons in its organic feel. And then not only that, you can get all these. Plus, I love this dragon illustration. You can get these other adventures and campaign settings at an also affordable price, and they take you through. If you like dungeon delving, there's ones that are specific to doing the old school dungeons crawls with awesome maps. Let me see if I can. You got field guides with extra monsters. But for example, here's like one of the dungeons. So it lays out all the dungeons like it used to do back in the Dragon magazine days. And it even gives you, it's cool, it gives you these boxes to check. As the Dungeon Master, you can just fill in these boxes for the hit dice of the monsters and their hit points and stuff like that. And it does it in a great, simple format of what the monster's armor class is. And again, this uses the ascending modern style, where you have to get a 13 or better to hit these skeletons. So you get a great, overall, this is an amazing game, and this is an amazing version, this Basic Fantasy. And it's apropos that it's called Basic Fantasy, because it does everything you need to do to play Dungeons and Dragons, to play Basic Fantasies. You don't have to even call it Dungeons and Dragons. You know, it's just going on imaginary quests and adventures, and this gives you the building blocks of a simple rule set that is it's not simple though. It's complex in its ability to allow you to imagine your character, and it's not limited by, for example, what I showed you in the 5th edition, where, okay, I'm going to pick the Battle Master path. It's a little bit silly. You can be a battle master and a ninja and a kung fu master in this one, because it's in the stats. This allows you to freely imagine the possibilities of your character. It's all in the core mechanics, and I don't think you can go wrong with this Basic Fantasy. And not only that, you'll be having a good old time, not having to come up with $20, $30, $40, $50 for the official, so-called official Wizards of the Coast manuals. that they sell at Barnes and Nobles and stuff like that. You pick this up, and then you pick up some of these fun adventures, and maybe stop making your own, and you're going to be having a good old time. So I highly recommend this. I think this is a can't miss product. It's not only for the affordability, but also for how well it does it. So I hope this video finds you have an amazing day, and I hope you have a blessed day and your spirits remain high. Signing off.